Have you hit your upper limit and don't know what to do? It may not be what you think. Today's episode is called Hitting Your Upper Limit, and it's our intention for this episode that you discover what your upper limit is, why you may have it in place, and what you can do to get around it. How are you doing, Kat?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm good. This episode is going to hit home, I think, a little bit hard for
Yeah.
me, and I'm a little nervous. As I hit
Aw.
record, I'm like, oh, you're not going to hold this together very well. But that's just
That's
me having
okay.
an upper limit. So, um, do you want to kind of explain what you
Yeah,
view this as?
right. All of us have probably heard the term like hitting your limit, right? And when I hear that phrase, I think about me with my kids or something, like I think about me saying like I'm hitting my limit or like I'm hitting my threshold. And I am very, very sound and noise sensitive, like sensory sensitive. And so I know when I'm hitting my like limit with that. And so we always think of it as like this kind of negative thing, like you're about to just go, you're about to just explode, or like you can't take it anymore. But, and you brought this to me, you recently read a book. Who's it by?
Gay Hendricks, it's The Big Leap.
Yeah. And he describes that you can actually hit your limit with the good things too.
That's where the jaw starts to tremble a little bit. Yeah,
Oh
I,
no.
I actually got that book back in 2019. Somebody recommended it at the conference that we go to, and I bought it. I tried reading it once or twice, and like, this is not resonating with me. And then in the last 6 months or so, I looked at it and I'm like, yeah, that's calling to me. And that's kind of how I buy books. Somebody will recommend it. I buy it, put it on a shelf, and I know that at some point I'm going to
Mm,
get to it. So
yeah.
the your upper limit isn't I think there's that upper limit that we have with tolerance
Yeah.
of kids. I definitely
Just
recall hearing my
everything.
parents say like I'm at my limit. And I'm like, and
Yeah.
you knew that was like,
I give my kids the
okay,
number, right? I'm like,
yeah,
Mom, is that a 10? And you do not want me to go above that.
yeah.
Okay. So just shh.
So I think it's the upper limit issue is a little bit different than that. I think we all get when we're just exhausted, or the kids
Yeah.
are pushing our buttons, or the boss is doing this, or life has just kind of pushed us. That's easy to understand. And the coping mechanisms for that are, taking time out, doing some deep
Yeah.
breathing, meditating, yoga, stretching,
Earplugs.
earplugs, going for a drive.
Yeah.
Basically, like kind of giving yourself a reset point is kind of the idea of that. When you are hitting your upper success limit, that's a
Mm,
lot different. For me, I am a very much go, go, go type of person. And I've come to the realization that being happy isn't something I'm going to get by go, go, go. It's something that I just have to embody, and embodying it, I can do that. I can live it. And when I'm trying my best to just be calm and live in my happiness, live in my joy, I have a really hard time with that. I am so used to, because of my life, being frantic, living in a bit of trauma, or
mm,
like it's not so much what I live in now, but it's like friction, I think is maybe the right word for it. That when I don't have it, I struggle. Like
yeah.
it's almost like, and you had a great thing that I want you. Hopefully, you're willing to share with everyone, that it's being able to live with this new level of I'm going to call it success, because I really do view that as like it's an internal level of achievement, but then feeling worthy enough to live in, to feel that you're safe enough to live in it. In my case, or and this upper limit, this kind of ceiling that you hit, where you're like, it's literally feels like you want to get there, but you have to allow yourself to push through. So I think you had a
Mm.
really good insight today about upper limits and everything. If you're open to sharing it.
Yeah. I think that one thing we don't talk about enough, and I wish I had realized this sooner. And I have done this so many times in many different areas of my life, is that when things get good, I tend to self-sabotage without realizing it. You know, it is a subconscious thing. It's not like I'm trying to mess things up. But to give an example from work, so the majority of my work, you know, we have all of our projects and all of our entrepreneurial pursuits, but my base income comes from being a financial writer. So maybe I'll get like a great new client, or someone will offer to pay me like a ton more than I expected. And maybe subconsciously, I will self sabotage. I will procrastinate, or I will, you know, turn something in the morning or be late. And it's because it is so uncomfortable for me that someone thought I was worthy of this price, or that my writing was good enough to get into this publication. I have to really watch it. I didn't figure it out on my own. It's pointed out to me by a therapist, and it's hard. It's hard to realize that I do that to myself. And a big thing that I'm trying to do now is learn how to be okay with good things happening to me. I think when you go through hard things, everyone listening to this has had some type of trauma or difficult thing or hard relationship or challenging childhood moments, things that impact us and affect how we view ourselves. So when we're having these good things, um, you're dating someone new. You've gone like all week without yelling at your kids. It's like you're so used to like the chaos or the stress or the drama of it all that somehow you do something without realizing it to make sure you go back to that equilibrium instead of embracing the good that you're in.
Yeah, I can relate to that a lot. I get the imagery that came to mind when you were saying that. It's kind of like, you know, you're on a rough lake and you've got to keep paddling to kind of keep the boat balanced and going in the direction you want. And suddenly when the winds change and the lake calms, you don't have to do that anymore, but you've gotten so used to trying to steady the boat that you really don't know how to settle into that new feeling.
That's
And
right.
it's a very odd thing. And a lot of people are listening to this and they're going to be going, oh, okay, I get that. And other people are going to go, I have no clue what you mean. I
Mm.
want to meet you because you sound wonderful, Ben. Uh, but it's kind of like, you know, when you have a go 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 lifestyle and then suddenly you get like an hour to yourself and you're like, you could just sit on the couch, but you can't physically allow yourself to sit down because you've gotten so used to going that the idea of quiet time in the middle of the day is unfathomable, and it feels more uncomfortable than the stress you have from go 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 all the time. It's kind of like you almost have uh, this, I don't want to call it faulty wiring, but like this, you have this pathway in your brain that needs to be redirected to a different outcome, and to know that it's okay to do that. It's okay to get the big clients. It's okay to, you know, to sit quietly when like you keep saying all I want is calm and you get it and you're like, oh my God, calm
This
is
is
like
so
terrifying.
uncomfortable. Why
So
is it quiet?
yeah, yeah. So then you go, you know, you turn the TV on loud and you start
Yeah.
making a meal that you don't know how to cook because your
You
pots
just
and
want to
pans are still in the
insert the
box.
stress into your life because that's your default. And this is a very high level of self awareness that is going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people because
It will be.
it requires you to look at yourself and to admit to yourself somehow unconsciously, I'm messing up stuff for myself. And then
Yeah.
you have to look at it objectively because right, we're not supposed to have self-loathing. We're supposed to like love our inner child. And you have to look at yourself and say, it's okay. You're not doing it on purpose, but you have to stop if you want to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
People do this a lot with money too. You'll notice like people get maybe they want to earn more, or like they want to get out of debt, let's say, and they like pay it off, or they get like a big check in their account, and they're so used to like living paycheck to paycheck that they will self-sabotage. They'll go and buy something big or they'll do something just to get back, again, subconsciously, because you're used to being in money stress. You're used to paycheck. You cannot sit with the feeling of having 10 grand in your account because that feels so foreign to you.
Exactly.
So a lot of it is just like practicing sitting with the things, the quiet, the money, the calm.
And this sounds so, I know even when I'm listening to it, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And it's way harder, but I know people are listening to it and going, well, it must be nice to sit with $10,000 in your bank account or sit with the calm, you poor thing, you. But maybe that's part of your block too. With regards to money, T. Harv Eker, in his book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, this is the first time I'm actually citing something perfectly, by the way, and might be the last. So,
slow clap.
So he talks about the financial thermostat. And what it basically is that, a thermostat, when you have it set to 72 or 22 for us Canadians, and you open up the window and it drops from 72 down to 62, you're going to have the heat click on and it's going to raise you up to 72. So in that case, your money drops, you're going to find ways to make money. That's an easy one. Harder one is when your financial thermostat is set to 72 and it goes all the way up to 80, which is the 10 grand in your account in this case, and you don't feel comfortable with it, and the air conditioning clicks on and it lowers your money back down to that area that you feel safe in. So that's kind of what the upper limit is. It's just knowing that, like, first of all, bringing awareness to it is the first thing. Always. And the other part is, and Kat and I have played this game of like trying to gently bring it up to the other person when they're hitting the upper limit.
Yes.
And we can both safely say it doesn't always go super well.
Andrew's definitely like better at accepting like, oh, maybe you're right. And I'm just like, no, I'm not. It's hard when you're like faced with the reality and then later on, I usually come back and I'm like, yeah, you were right. You were right. Yeah. I was hitting an upper limit. It's challenging, it's like all of us, if you're listening to this podcast, it's because you like personal growth. You want to become your best self. Our whole podcast is designed to help you become your best self in 5 years. And it's so easy for us to talk about like how to get happier. And if you're depressed, here's what to do. And if you're in debt, here's what to do. But so few people talk about how hard it is to accept when things are going well, when business is going well. You have to like train yourself to accept that you're worth all of the things that are coming your way. I think another thing we do is like, we're afraid of it leaving. Right? Because we're like, oh, yes, this can't last. Like if you had a chaotic childhood and, we're always attracted to what's familiar, whether it's good for us or not. Right? Let's say you have like a chaotic childhood and you had lots of chaotic relationships and you meet someone really, really nice. You're like, oh, this can't be true. Like the other shoe's going to drop, or they probably like have a secret, like weird collection of like taxidermy frogs or something. It's like something's got to be.
I've told you that's a normal thing in Canada, but you're just never going to believe me.
But
just kidding.
But we can't accept when something's good. Yay! I don't even know where that came from, but I'm glad I got a snort.
I'm just like, you just said that you had a frog collection. Well, folks, we all have our moments, and
we all have our hobbies.
Yeah, I do not, just for the record. So please,
no, I did not get that real life example from Andrew at all.
Oh my God, that's a real life example for you. That's scary. Anyway, go on.
No, but like, it's so hard for us to accept when things are good and calm. And especially if you've had like a chaotic beginning, or like you said, some type of trauma or something like that, when things are going good, it makes us incredibly uncomfortable. And for me, what I've learned is like the self-sabotage, the unintentional self-sabotage is a coping mechanism, and it's because I'm trying to control the outcome. If I bring the drama, if I bring the stress, then I'm the one creating it, so I'm in control of what's
Mm.
happening. And as opposed to sitting and waiting anxiously for the other shoe to drop, I might as well like count myself out. That way
Right.
I'm in charge of the outcome. And of course, control
Right.
is illusion. None of us are in control, but we're not talking about things that we're consciously doing. We're talking about
N-
unconsciously doing.
No. And that's young Catherine coming in going like, I need to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
I'm not triggered or hurt or whatever. So I'm going to go do this thing because I need to. I think this is a good example of this is just be careful what you wish for. You just might get it.
Yeah.
And and people will hear that and go like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, if you get what you wish for, then you have to learn how to live with it. So it's dynamical. That's my new word, multi-dynamical. They're just gonna, yeah, it's that kind of day. But I'll give you an example for myself. So last week I went to for Reiki, and I've had this like I harbored most of my tension in my shoulder to my neck on the one side, and I know it's there. And I left, and it was gone. And I was walking around, and I think I even texted you saying like I think I feel good right now. Is this how people feel like when their body's not
Yeah. When they don't
completely
have body
tense?
pain. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, but I could feel like I've become really self aware of my body. Oh, God, that sounds weird. And could feel my brain wanting to like tense up, and part of it going like, no, we're going to keep calm. We're going to keep calm. Within 2 hours, I had self-sabotaged.
Yeah.
I picked a fight that I didn't need to pick. And a Canadian fight is you just don't say sorry as often. But unless you're in hockey, then it's a full out fight. But I just had this weird sensation of like, this doesn't feel right. And I felt so uncomfortable. Like literally physically, I felt uncomfortable, and I was struggling to get back to it. Now I know what it feels like. I'm trying to get back to that non-stress
Yeah.
point. But in the
Your
beginning,
thermostat kicked on and you
oh, it
went back
did.
to the feeling that you were familiar with, which was having stress and pressure in your shoulder and neck.
Yeah, because I've lived with it for so many years. And again, letting it go is not as simple as it may sound. Because I think a lot of us are just like, well, just calm down. Yeah, because that always works.
That's helpful to say to someone.
It's never worked in the history of time.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing you can ever say to somebody. So when you have those moments, just again, bring that awareness to yourself. Go like, okay, I feel uncomfortable in this thing that I say I wanted. I have two choices. I can go back to how it was. I can stress myself out. I can cause chaos, panic, overspend, whatever it is.
Yep.
Or, and this is the harder one, I can try to live with it and just get a taste of that feeling. You don't have to be perfect with it. You're not going to be perfect with it. So there you are. You're off the hook. But try to just experience that money in your account. Try to experience the calm. Try to experience the peace, the love, whatever it is that you've said you've wanted and you've gotten the taste for. So that way you're able to give yourself that feeling, and you can go back to it at that point. We're feeling people. So when you get a new emotion, a new physical sensation, and you like it, you can figure out a way to get back to it. Sometimes we're just shown these things in the beginning to go, look, you can live
Yeah.
without the shoulder pain. Look, you can live with calm. And then you wreck it because, you hit the upper limit. But then you get to go back and go, okay, I really did prefer that. Now I have the contrast, which we've talked about in previous episodes, of being able to go, okay, I have the contrast of what I'm doing right now. I want to feel that more. This is how I got to it last time. Maybe I can get to it a different way. Maybe I can kind of ease into it. Maybe I just give myself permission to fail a little bit while I try to figure out this new feeling, this new financial state, this new calm.
Yeah.
And when you give yourself permission to do it, you're going to grow into it easier than not bringing the awareness to it, just hitting your upper limit and going back to how you've always been, because you're listening to the show because you do not want to be the way you've always been. You are looking to become the best version of yourself in 5 years. And we are here to help you. And we're telling you this upper limit is going to happen to you.
Yeah.
And if you know that it's there, you can adjust around it. If you don't know that it's there, you are going to go build the business, or have the relationship or whatever. And when you get it to exactly how you want to, you're going to get either bored, you're going to self-sabotage, you're going to do something because you haven't done the inside work, you haven't figured it out. And that is what we want to avoid before you get there. So learning how to live with that is a big part of it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I would offer some action steps to the people listening. How do you take this information? Now we've built awareness. What would be a good next step? And I'll give you a few examples. Let's say from a money example, let's say you get a tax refund, right? Or a Christmas bonus, or sometimes depending on how you get your paycheck, sometimes maybe 2 or 3 months out of the year, it's a 3 paycheck month instead of a 2 paycheck month. Right. And so many of us are already like calculating before it comes. If we know these things are happening, like what we're going to do with the money, right? Instead, try and let it sit in your account and try to become someone that is used to the feeling of having a little bit more money in your account, and just sit with it. And if that made your chest tight or a little uncomfortable, it's a good sign, you're hitting that upper limit. Before, making the thermostat kick on and trying to think of ways to spend it and all this stuff, just sit with it. If you are in a relationship, you're married, and like you guys haven't nitpicked at each other in a while, you haven't argued, and you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, we've been getting along like really well. Do yourself a favor and don't say that out loud.
And don't say calm down.
Yeah. But try to acknowledge things are going really well. And before you kick the thermostat on and pick a fight about the toilet seat up or something, think to yourself, this feels really good. This can continue. There's nothing wrong. It's okay for me to be safe. It makes sense that I'm getting along with my partner. We love each other, right? Or whatever it is you have to say.
That was the goal.
Try not to create a situation in which you kick on an equilibrium. You kind of fall back to old habits. Same thing with your work, your workouts. You're on a really good run with your workouts, right? You've been, oh my gosh, this is the longest I've stuck to my workout routine. This is the most days in a row I've gotten up to go run. Do yourself a favor. Don't let the thermostat kick on. Keep going with it. Make that your new normal, your new temperature.
Mm-hmm. I think the weight one's one that I was just thinking about too. Working out and stuff. I know for myself, you get to that kind of, and I'll use air quotes here for goal weight, and then you're like, well, now what? Yeah. And it's I may as well go eat the bad foods for me and get back to, so I can do something.
So I can lose it again, and I have something to work for. Yeah, exactly.
Right? So part of that,
because what am I if I'm not worried about getting to my goal weight? What am I going to do to occupy my thoughts? I need to do something to mess it up so that I can get back on this hairy journey to lose the last 10 pounds or whatever it is we do.
Exactly. And I think that's one that people we can all maybe identify with a little bit, is you get to that point, you're like, okay, well, now what? And it's well, now you need to shift your identity from somebody who is wanting to achieve their ideal weight to that lives with their ideal weight.
Yep.
Your identity changes in that moment.
That's
and so
right.
you have the awareness, you have the awareness that things are going well, or that you're at your ideal weight or whatever. You're aware that you might be hitting an upper limit and that it feels uncomfortable. And then you start to shift your identity around it. And that doesn't happen overnight. It can, but it's rare, I find. So you want to be able to just go, okay, I'm a person that, lives at their perfect weight. What does this person look like? I get to discover what calm Andrew looks like, what healthy Andrew looks like, what, whatever multi-billionaire Andrew looks like. I'm going to put that out there. I mean, I may as well, right?
Might as well.
So while we're doing this, it's like, okay, now I'm going to just see, yeah, you know what? Calm me is okay to just read a book or to just sit quietly with my thoughts and not pick a fight, to feel the calm in my body and allow that calm to just be there. It's a lot easier when you are able to kind of give yourself that new identity to live with once you get it. So now you're not that person who goes paycheck to paycheck. You're that person that has a couple extra dollars in the bank account, whatever that
Yeah.
amount is, and you embrace that, and then you grow, and then
Yeah.
maybe you know,
Do it
maybe
again
you're
and
yeah,
again.
you just again and again and again, and you're always changing. But that's again part of the challenge, is to understand that when you hit your limit, your ego might be going like, oh, we are not changing, this is so
Yeah.
what I'm used to. And whether it's better for you or not, your ego doesn't care, it just wants to keep you the same. So I think that's a really good place to kind of switch over
Yeah.
to our glimmers now. At the end of every episode, we like to share a glimmer, and a glimmer is just that thing that makes us smile and happy and brings delight to our world. So, Kat, what's your glimmer this week?
You know what I did that I don't normally do is I actually took my kids to a movie recently.
Oh,
Maybe
wow.
like once or twice a year, I'll actually go to the movie theater because, very indoorsy and opposed to, loud things and crowds and such. But,
That makes sense.
but yeah, and you know what? They were so grateful. And I think it's because we don't go all the time, so that when we go, I actually will buy the popcorn and the ices and stuff for them. And so like, it's a treat for sure.
For sure.
And, those two kids said thank you so many times for that. I was like almost taken aback. Like they knew it was kind of a special thing. They know mom doesn't normally like the loud movie and all this stuff. And so they were really feeling it. It made me feel so good. We saw, If, the Imaginary Friend
Oh,
movie.
did you like it?
Yeah, it was cute. I mean, it was definitely like for them, but my 10-year-old son doesn't want to see rom-coms, strangely. So, we
So
saw the
weird.
kid one.
Yeah.
But no, it was good. It was a good outing. And it was definitely like a good glimmer, something different to do for sure. How about you?
I went to If on my own, and I'm being told now that it was for kids. No,
No,
I'm
you
just
did
kidding.
not.
No, I didn't. I'm really grateful for the summer that's coming up. I feel like last summer was a little bit chaotic, and I feel
Mm,
this summer, I just feel like through the podcast and the things we're talking about, especially today's episode, that
mhm.
I'm just ready to embrace a new version of me. And I'm really excited for that version to come out, because I feel that the tools that I've been gathering and everything, I'm just really excited for the rest of this year. And I know that's kind of not so much a glimmer, but I think sometimes to look to the future when you haven't in the past and felt excited, maybe in the ways that a lot of other people do, when you're kind of like, I don't know what it's going to be like, and everything. I think I've really come to embrace uncertainty
Mm.
a lot more than I ever used to. And I'm really grateful for it, because I'm kind of like, what's the summer going to bring? And I'm just kind of shrugging and going, I really don't know, but I can't
Yeah.
wait to find out.
Aw,
So I'm excited for the future right now. It's pretty awesome.
that's really great. I love that. I feel like that's such a good note to end on too. It's
Yeah.
happy.
Thank you.
It's kind of
All
the
right,
point,
everyone.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's kind of the point, but yeah, that's what we do. All right, everyone. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Just a reminder, we're two people on the internet. We're not doctors or anything else, but we do want to help. If you feel that you need professional medical care, please see a licensed medical practitioner.
Oh, and don't forget, if you want to get that advice from your future self, head on over to 5yearyou.com/future to get signed up.
We're rooting for you.